this video, or started to plan shooting this video, I didn't know how I wanted to do it. All I knew is that I really just wanted to kind of get in the car and go for a drive. Really wanted some more curves. Come on, squirrel. Why did they do the whole, let me go this way, let me go back? But I've owned an Evo 9 GSR and an Evo 10 MR. And I've had a couple people ask me more about kind of the history, especially on the Evo 9. I think people, you know, Evo 9s are just the most popular, and my Evo 9 had the most mods of any of my Evos. Granted, the two others aren't really giving a bunch of a run for its money, nonetheless. So I've had some of you ask for kind of like the story on that. So I figured, yeah, why not? Now, I don't have a lot of footage of my Evo 9. I've got a few photos. Most aren't good enough to put in a video. I do have some that I took with like a DSLR back in the day, like when I first bought it, and a few other scenarios. I've got like a crappy BlackBerry video and stuff that I'll probably insert or something. I've inserted it in a couple videos. Unfortunately, my Evo 9 predates like iPhones and stuff. I mean, the iPhone was out, but you know what I mean. Like, video quality was not what it is now. You had to actually have like a video camera if you wanted to get some good quality. Now, had I known that, hey, 10, 15 years later, I'm going to start a YouTube channel around Evos and that content might be useful, then yeah, I guess I could have done that. But I didn't. So here we are. So my Evo 9 I bought brand new, had 6 miles on it if memory serves. Might even have like a picture of the odometer, I don't know, I have to dig up or something. So I bought this after I totaled my Mustang, basically. By basically, I mean completely. I had no idea this road ended. Straight up ends. This is cool. I like this. Good little place to shoot videos. Except I'm like 20 minutes from my house. Well, we could probably get like a photo or two, I think. Alright, so I don't know how good those pictures are going to come out since the sun is pretty bright, but we will see. Battery's getting kind of low now, so let's hurry this up. If it dies, I'll figure something out. Should I launch it? No. Now I'm not buying a new clutch. Oh crap, I gotta put the windows down again. Alright, windows back up. No idea where we were. But, so I bought an Evo 9. At the time, I looked at used ones. I didn't know a whole lot about cars back then. Buying used made me uneasy. I didn't know anything about Evo, so I mean, a decent used one was high 20s, new one was like 32. The overall payment difference wasn't going to be much, because I was thinking about payments back then, because that's what you do when you're young and dumb. Before driving the Evo 9 though, which would also be my first time driving an Evo myself, I knew what the STIs were and everything, and I was kind of torn. I kind of liked some of the looks of the STIs better, but I wasn't really sure, so I wanted to drive one, and I went and drove one, and I liked it. It was nice. I didn't know if I liked it I didn't really have much to compare it to, but I mean, I definitely liked it for sure. But I got in the Evo and I pulled out of the parking lot on the test drive, and like when the wheels like went over the curb onto the main road, I knew right in that second that I wanted an Evo. Just the suspension stiffness, like how the car, just in that short second. Now, looking back, I don't think that was probably an indicator at all of whether or not a suspension or a car is going to handle well. But in my mind, stiffer suspension meant better handling. Now, as it turns out, the Evos stock do handle a lot better than the STIs, but I don't think I really knew that. So that pretty much solidified it. Plus, they had come out with like the Tribeca front end. So if you were gonna go new, I did not like the new STI front end. So it definitely would have been used, and that just made the decision even easier. So I buy this car, and you know, I'd done like a short throw shifter on my Mustang, so I hadn't really done any mods on it. So modding was a relatively new concept to me, and everybody was modding. I was kind of torn, you know, the idea of having a warranty and things like that. Then my clutch went out in like 3 months of owning the car, and that obviously wasn't going to be covered under warranty, and it didn't. And that cost me a fortune, but I didn't know any better. I was stupid. Took it to Mitsubishi. Of course, they took it apart and said, nope, it's my fault. Now your car's in pieces. What do you want us to do? You got to pay us this much regardless, even if we just throw it all in a box, basically. So I was super angry at that, and basically said, screw the warranty, screw Mitsubishi at that point. I'm just going to do whatever I want. So I slowly started modding. Nothing crazy. Did like a boost controller, intake filter, fuel pump, maybe. I don't even know if I did the fuel pump back then. Maybe I did. Boost gauge, you know, just some simple things, nothing crazy, and then like an exhaust. And I was still pretty content, and even though, yeah, I was annoyed and everything, I knew in the back of my mind, like, this stuff is pretty easy to swap back if I need to for some reason, for a warranty purpose, if I want to try that route again. As I mentioned, I was in school, I was working full-time, I was also saving up a lot of money. I wanted to move out, I was living with my parents, and I wanted to get my own place. I'd been saving up a lot of money. And as emotions will sometimes do, I had broken up with the girl I was dating, and I was driving to work one day, and like I did every day, and it literally, like, I remember where I was. I was on Interstate 471, heading towards downtown, and like a light bulb just went off in my head, and it was like, oh, I have this bank account, because I had it like at a different bank or something, I don't remember. It's been accumulating money because it was just auto deducting from my paycheck and everything. It had like, I don't know, $2,000-$3,000 in there. I don't remember. I was like, I should mod my car more, you know. Plus I was still like emotional probably from the breakup and all this stuff. So I was like, screw that. Like, I get to work, I call up Busher, and I just order, like, basically I looked at how much money I had, got on the website, figured out what I could order, probably consulted with some friends, I don't remember, and placed an order for a front mount, upper and lower intercooler piping. If I didn't already have the fuel pump, I definitely got it then, and I don't know what else. I feel like probably some other stuff. Oh, blow-off valve, because I was a racer back then. I thought the SSQ blow-off valve was like the coolest thing in the world. So I actually called them back, changed my order from a race front mount to a street core so that I would then have enough money to buy the HKS SSQ. Terrible decision. And they told me that on the phone. They're like, that's probably not the best use of your money. I was like, no, this is what I want. They're like, okay, idiot, but okay. And they sent it to me. So it's the little things in life that bring joy. And this new chapter in my life of having some more mods brought in the joy of intercooler piping and how it blows off and how freaking frustrating that is. I had some extremely long nights getting that all squared away where it would blow, and like one night it blew. I don't know how fast we were going. I know we were going really fast, and it blew well into the triple digits. I didn't know what had happened. It scared the crap out of me. Buddy who was like behind me was like calling, like, dude, your car just shot like a flame, like a mile long. Like, I don't know what just happened. Turned out I blew intercooler piping, but it blew so hard that it destroyed the clamp and everything in the process, and I didn't have any more at the time, or at least not with me. From the next day on, though, I went to the auto parts store and bought a bunch of them, and I had them with me 24/7 from that day on. Of course, I never had that issue again. But part of the reason is I stepped up to like T-bolt clamps or something. I don't remember what it was, but something much stronger. We were probably 15, 20 minutes away from my buddy's house when it happened. It took me like 3 hours to get to his house because I had no clamp. So I literally could not go in the boost. And it was like one of the lower pipes. So every time it blew, I had to take the bumper off. You know, looking back, it's like, why didn't I take one of the clamps off the upper pipes and put it, but I don't know, maybe it was a different size or something. I don't remember, but that just dawned on me while I'm recording this right now in 2019, that why back in like 2007 it didn't dawn on me to freaking switch the clamp so it wouldn't take me 3 hours to get home. But I didn't, and it did, so here we are. My lane-ins. So things progressed a little bit more, and then you know, I did some more light mods here and there, I think. I don't remember exactly, but the idea of cams came into play. So I bought cams, and that turned out to be a complete disaster that I had no business messing around with, even with well-intentioned friends. So what ended up happening was eventually I just decided to pack the car up and ship it up to Busher and let them finish it. Which they did, which brings me to how I ended up with my completely bolt-on car with cams and an FP green. Is, you know, so it's up at the shop there, and we were heading like towards the winter, and I called them up and they said, you know, we really can't get to your car for like 2 months, but if you want to send it up to us, you know, we don't care, you can sit here or whatever. So I did. So my car was up there for like 3 months. I just didn't want it here. So I sent it up there, and that gave me a lot of time to think and do stupid things. One of which was I bought an FP green, had that shipped up there. The car comes back. It's not tuned yet though. I just wanted them to finish all the work. We were gonna tune it, not me, but somebody I knew was gonna tune it. And actually that somebody now owns Busher Racing. So in case you're wondering, his name is Jimmy Bowling, was gonna tune it. And he did end up tuning it, by the way, but that comes later. So while the car's up there though, you know, originally went up there just to get cams installed, which I had already bought. So I believe it was Dan Busher. He calls me one day and he's like, hey, we're gonna start working on your car. Well, you know, I'm in college, it's the middle of the day, so of course I'm not sober-ish. And I was like, yeah, this is great. You know what would be cool is I would love to like do this, 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 and this. And like I rattled off a bunch of things. Because in my mind it was like, okay, he's gonna, you know, we're gonna discuss this. He's gonna get back to me on some prices, what it would cost. He calls me back a couple days later. I'm sober. And I answer and he's like, hey, your car's done. I was like, it's done? Like, what do you mean? Like, you got the cams? And he's like, yeah, we got the cams and we got the turbo on and we got all this, you know, the valve springs, the retainers, the head studs, all this other, you know, new clutch, rebuilt the transmission, just all this craziness that I had mentioned on the phone. And it was like $4 or $5 grand. I was like, oh, okay. Broke college student. Just, that was like the most expensive day of drinking of my life, basically. One day of drinking cost me like $5 grand. So I learned my lesson on that. We get the car, it's not tuned, so I have to kind of baby it back home, but that's okay. I haven't driven an Evo in like 6 months at this point, so I'm just super happy to have it back. We go to start messing with the tune, and somehow in all that mess, I didn't get injectors, didn't think about it. So then I had to order injectors because they were maxing out or whatever. So I get those, we get those installed, and he puts like a base tune on it. So basically where, you know, it wasn't as fast, obviously, as it could be, but it was safe. I could drive it as hard as I want, and I didn't have to worry about anything. I just wasn't really getting full advantage of the mods and whatnot, but that's okay. So I call up a buddy who had an 03 Evo 8. I believe it was either an 03 or an 04, because it was blue by you. And I call him up and say like, hey, you know, I'd like to, you want to go to Mexico with me, you know, I'd like to see what the car does. And he had some bolt-ons and he had cams. They weren't super aggressive cams, but he did have cams and such. So he was like, yeah, sure, no problem. So we go to Mexico, and I beat him. I beat him there. Probably by, I don't know, 3 or 4 car lengths. Nothing crazy. But, you know, considering all the mods I had, you know, he had, you know, intake, exhaust, cams, and, you know, a few other things, I'm sure. But nothing too crazy. Meanwhile, I've got basically full bolt-ons, insanely aggressive cams, as aggressive as you could go without building the motor, essentially. And FP green turbo, all this stuff. And I beat him by a few car lengths. So I was like, so I wasn't completely thrilled with that result, mind you. But I was like, well, maybe his car's faster than, you know, I think it is, and so forth. But, you know, I still got to get tuned, so hopefully that helps. You know, even though I'm partially tuned, but hopefully getting fully tuned. So we get together again, me and Jimmy, and we finally tune it, like, completely. I don't know if we ever even got it completely. I don't know if it was ever decided that we were going to tune it some more or not, to be honest. I think we were mostly, like, content with it, if memory serves. And it definitely felt faster. Not going to lie. I don't know that anybody's going around saying tuning doesn't matter, but trust me, it matters. If you ever hear anybody say it doesn't matter, they're insane, because it most certainly definitely does matter. The car felt wicked fast. And so, of course, I called the same buddy up. Let's go to Mexico again. I want to try this again. See what kind of difference. See if I'm just imagining. See how much of this I'm imagining. See how much of this is real. So we line up on a highway in Mexico again. Same speeds as before, and we take off. Previously, I had pulled about 3 to 4 car lengths, I think. This time, it was like a Lamborghini Aventador racing like a Prius. I mean, it was just like, goodbye. Like, see you later. I pulled so far ahead of him. It was a relatively straight highway in Mexico. I pulled so far ahead of him that he was gone. Could not see him anymore. Came up on like a 350 or 370Z, I don't remember which. Raced that car, beat it easily, because that wasn't going to be of any challenge. Got off the highway, called the buddy up to let him know where I was at this point, because I was like miles down the road at this point. He pulls in and he's just like, there is no way all you've done in the like week since we met is a tune. Like, that is just physically impossible. But I think it speaks to how conservative the conservative tune was. I mean, it was insanely conservative. Versus a much more aggressive tune. You know, I think on the conservative tune, I couldn't even like go above like 7K, where on the more aggressive tune, it was, you know, everything was raised. So I was getting more use out of the turbo, the cams, all that good stuff. It sounded mean, it felt mean, and it was just a blast. Now, if some of you are wondering why the FP green, at the time the red had just came out, so I contemplated the red. The reason I went with the green, though, is way back in the day, before I ever started modding my Evo, what actually convinced me to start modding, and I think I left this out a minute ago, was we went to like a little car gathering thing one night at like a Fridays or an Applebee's or something. I don't know what it was. And there was a guy there. He had an Evo 8. It was white. Busher had done a bunch of mods on it. It was running like methanol or whatever that they did back then, and had an FP green. And I got in that thing and my stomach just like fell out of my body when he got on it. And I was like, I have to have this turbo. So that's the turbo I wanted, and I don't regret it. To this day, I tell people like the FP green is like just the perfect street turbo. And there's a lot of people who have had like fully built Evos with like 35Rs and all this stuff, and yeah, they're fun. I've been in them. Super fun cars, but you gotta have some room for those things to breathe, and you're doing some scary speeds. Not that I wasn't doing scary speeds in the FP green, but so much more of a fun turbo. And a lot of those guys with the massive turbos will tell you that, you know, as a car that you're going to drive on the street ever, it's just so much more fun with a a turbo that spools quicker like that. Nobody wants a car that's all its power's up in like the 5K range and above. So now, I mean, these were like 9-second cars too. I mean, I've ridden in 9-second Evos, and like I said, I mean, super fun, super a blast to be in, but just further solidified my idea of getting an FP green when I finally did. To this day, you know, when the day comes that I put a different turbo, if this turbo gives out or I decide to put a different turbo, it will be an FP green. And I was actually just watching an Adam LZ video, because he has like an Evo 4 or 5 or something in the US. I believe it's a 4. And I'm still confused on how he has that and he's driving it around. There's no way that thing's street legal, but I don't care. I'm super jealous and I would love to have one. Would love to see it, drive it or ride in it or anything. It would be freaking awesome. But he just got an FP green for that, and apparently FP is making them again and like making like a newer version and stuff. So that's definitely the turbo I would want going forward. It's, you know, it's definitely down on the list of things, obviously, but it's not as far down as I think it will ultimately end up being on this car. So you're probably all wondering now, well, he had this Evo 9 full bolt-on. You know, it wasn't a built head, but it had valve springs, retainers, cams, all that stuff, injectors. Why did I get rid of it? Well, it boils down to 2 reasons that both kind of have to do with money. And that is, if any of you have ever looked on the forums and are familiar with the old threads discussing Evo 9s and their camshafts that snap from Cosworth, I was one of the lucky, fortunate people that had that happen. And I know I have a picture of this. It might be a crappy photo, but I'll still put it in the video. But driving home one day, I was going like 25 miles an hour on this little back road near my house, and it just snapped, you know, and that was it. Completely destroyed the motor. So, I mean, top and bottom end just gone on it. So I was at a loss, because I mean, to be quite honest, I had really stretched myself, and by myself I mean credit cards basically, being in college and such, with all the mods that it had, but it was done. I was going to enjoy it and have fun, and then that happened, so then it's like, well, shoot. So the car sat for quite a while. I don't know, probably sat for at least a year or more before I finally just got rid of it. And was like, you know, I contemplated fighting to hold it on and all this different stuff, and ultimately it was like, you know, it just isn't worth it. You know, it was creating a lot of stress in my life, having this car payment for a car that was in pieces where I could. So ultimately I started stripping parts off. I sold a lot of the parts and then got rid of the car as a rolling shell basically. And yeah, I mean, that was kind of the end of it. So there you have it, my Evo 9 story. It was several years before I would end up buying this Evo. Now, I constantly watch the Evo market, and I wanted to buy another one, but I just knew if I bought another one, I would instantly want to mod it. So I kept waiting until I was at a point in my life to where I wouldn't feel that way, I guess, and if need be, like, you know, financially I was just in a stronger position. So I was out of school, full-time job, all that nonsense when I finally bought this. And I actually bought a few vehicles before the wife was like, you just need to go buy an Evo and quit buying and get rid of cars, because I had gone through a few in a short period of time because I kept basically buying everything but an Evo. And she was just like, just buy one already. So I found this one, and that's a whole nother story, but which I think I've told in a different video. But anyways, yeah, just take your time, get your cigarettes out while you're walking. Jeez. But that is my Evo 9 story. All right, so camera did die, but I was mostly done talking there. Back at the house here, starting to work on my Evo. So definitely follow along, subscribe for that. If there's any Evo questions or comments that you have, you can obviously leave them below. If you have any Evo specific questions, you want to DM me, Instagram's the best way to do that. Otherwise, appreciate you guys as always. And I will see you guys probably tomorrow. Lotus, I said bye. Say bye, say bye, say bye. Mustang, so I was just hoping. Stupid freaking squirrels.
You're one and only. Yo.